All right, so here is a culvert drainage ditch. Now it is wet, like soaking wet in there. I'm gonna drive through it. And then this is obviously a very steep hill. We'll see what happens if I drive it through.
Robot has been moved from its usual working area. Please take note.
It drives right through that water. I'm gonna turn up this hill here and see how it does. Hey everyone, this is Nate and this is the Nader Tater channel. This has got to be one of the coolest little automatic lawnmowers I have seen. I just got it from Eufy. They sent me this product for this testing and I'm testing it out on the front of my yard right now for the first time. And it was super easy to set up. It's got some really cool advanced features that do not use like a high precision RTK GPS with an antenna that you got to put in your yard, on your house. And it also does not need any wires that go around the boundary. So what they claim is that it's 5 minutes from setup, unboxing to actually mowing. That's a little bit of a lie. I'll talk about why that is. But it is really cool. I'm really impressed with its ability to use its vision to actually auto map your yard and then avoid obstacles while it's mowing. It does some really cool stuff, like if you put something in the yard, an obstacle or a kid or whoever, it will stop and go around them. But then it's smart enough to actually go back and mow that area later. So it keeps track of it. And the coolest thing about this is that it's all done with vision. And I'm really surprised actually how well it works. I was very skeptical when I unboxed it and I set it up and told it to go. I did not think it would be able to map all my different scenarios. I have concrete edging, I have concrete landscape edging, and then a lot of my trees, I don't have any kind of edging. I just have a lot of pine needles there, and pine cones of course are in there as well. And I was very concerned that it might get stuck on this stuff or whatnot, but it actually mapped it all out very well. The only places I had problems with the mapping was actually some of my bare areas. I had done some landscaping in the fall and all my grass isn't growing back, so the bare areas of the soil, it actually detected as, hey, that's not grass, so I'm not going to mow over it. So I can go in there manually and tell it, yes, still mow over the bare soil, and I'll be getting some grass seed planted in there, hopefully get that all growing well. So here it is over here. I can check it on the app at any time and see the progress, but now it's going through and mowing, and what you'll see is it kind of mows the center. It'll later do a perimeter cut, but that is one of the things you'll have to watch with it, is that the blade disc is not as big as the mower is wide. So if you run the wheel up against the edge, you're not actually going to get all the way the edge mowed. So there's a setting in the app that has a both overlap setting for how each pass, how much it overlaps, but then the other one is an edge setting, so you can tell the mower to actually run the wheels outside of the grass, and then it will mow. So that will work okay for places like here where the ground and the concrete are the same height. But obviously if you have a big step, you're not going to be able to do that. So that's one thing to know about. That's really, I think, pretty much all of the auto mowers have that drawback, so something to know there. All right, so I'm out here now. I'm going to tell my little Eufy E18 bot that is up there against that back barn to come out here, but I'm going to tell it to do it by zone. So I can tell it in here and select just this front zone and tell it to go. I can hear it actually from here. I turn the volume all the way up. It says starting task. All right, so there we go. Now it's backing off the base. Now what I have here is obviously a pathway, and this one I had to manually set up a pathway between mowing paths. That's the only thing you have to do manually, really, is tell it how to get from one grass area to the other. Once it got to this grass area, then it mapped this one here. So I'm gonna have it come over here and just cut this area real fast, and then it will go back to its base, and you can do that, you know, by zone. All right, so here it is. Now it's coming up to the crossover point. This is where it will, you know, end here.
Starting crossing multi-zone pathway.
Multi-zone pathway, set it starting. Now it's going across the concrete. It'll go to this zone that I'm having it cut.
Starting blade disc.
All right, so now I have the volume turned all the way up on the announcement so I can hear it really well. Hopefully you can pick it up on the camera as well. The blade disc is actually spinning now. This thing is super quiet. That's actually probably my most surprising thing with it, is just how quiet the auto mowers are, especially this one. It's one of the quietest ones from a dB standpoint. You can easily run this without being annoying to your neighbors that are outside and you definitely cannot hear it when you're inside. You can barely hear it when you're outside. So now what it's going to do is going to go through and it's going to cut. Now I can look at the app at any time and I can watch the progress of it. I can adjust the speed at which it goes, the blade speed, I can adjust the cutting height, all that from the app itself, or it can just run automatically. The other thing, this is the Eufy E18. They also have a cheaper E15, and the main difference between them is the price of the unit and the size of area that it can do. So this one, the E18 can do 0.3 acres, and the E15 I think can do 0.2 acres. And I actually mapped out almost exactly 0.3 acres, so I'm testing the max limits of this thing. And I will say that that probably is the max. I think the limitation is actually partly because it has to store all of the mapping, the visual mapping that it does, on the onboard, chip or computer that's on there. But then the battery is not big enough to mow that whole area for sure. So when I ran my mower on the big area, I ran out of battery before I got probably a fifth of the way done, or even maybe less than a fifth of the way. I started optimizing some of the settings to try to make it more efficient by either changing the blade speed or the travel speed to try to make it better. But what it means is that it will automatically go back to the station. It will recharge. So it ran for about an hour and 40 minutes, and then it will go back and charge, and maybe takes another hour and a half or 2 hours to charge, and then it goes back out. And that is able to keep doing that until it finishes that whole area. So that's what's cool, is that it's automatic. You don't have to touch it or watch it when it does that. All right, the other thing I want to point out here is that because it is vision based, it doesn't work at night. And that is probably my biggest complaint with it, is that I would love to send this out at nighttime because it's so quiet that it wouldn't bother anyone. And then it's all done. But it needs the daylight, so it automatically goes back to its dock when it gets too dark, even though it does have some lights on it actually. So that's one drawback. The other drawback to it is that it needs to be able to drive from wherever the station is at to where the yard that it's going to cut. You can't pick it up and move it because it's using this vision mapping to keep track of itself. So if you pick it up and move it, then it doesn't have high precision GPS to know where it's at. So that's where here I had to have it drive over the concrete. If I were to pick it up, it would get lost and not know where it's at. So that's some of the drawbacks of the vision thing. But the best thing about the vision thing is that I literally set it up, the charging base, which is almost all assembled. It takes 5 minutes to put 4 thumb screws in. You don't need any tools. They include one Allen key for the ground screws. And then you hit go. It does have to auto map, and the auto mapping takes a lot of time. So for I think that other part of the grass, not this one here, is 0.27 acres or something. It took about 3 hours for it to map that space. So when I initially set it up and I hit go, it took 3 hours of time for it to do auto mapping. But like I said, I was really impressed with actually how good it was. Almost all the areas it chose correctly, as far as if there was pine needles, I'll show you over here, it automatically picked up a valid edge and said, okay, this is where your pine straw is, and we're not going to cut the grass there. So it made that zone by itself. Now, I went back in and just added some no-go zones. You can add a virtual fence in there as well. You can do all that kind of stuff to make it just more foolproof if you want to add a layer of convenience. And then, like I said before, is I had to add a couple areas of, yes, do cut this area, because it detected it as a bare spot and it was not going to cut it. But for the most part, very impressive auto mapping feature. That's probably the coolest thing about this Eufy one here. All right, but for one of the big downsides to the auto mapping is if you have a yard that shares the grass with the neighbor. So for me, I don't have any neighbors near me, and all my yard is constrained by concrete or other stuff. So it maps the area by itself, and it's all in my property. But if your property has grass with no fence or no trees or anything between your yard and your neighbor's yard, it's not going to know that, and it's going to map your neighbor's yard. So you'll have to add manually a virtual fence in the map and tell, hey, don't go past this location because that's where the property line is. So that's just something to know that maybe I haven't heard other people talk about here. All right, so as far as the app, now it uses the Eufy app, which I actually have Eufy security camera, so it's actually pretty cool that I already have the same app and it works for the mower. And now here's my mapped area. You can see, that's my Eufy camera telling me there's an alert that I'm out here, but you can see in here that it's done about 94 square feet, and it's been running for 14 minutes while I've been out here. If I zoom into this zone, I can see the light green area is the area that it has mowed, and is working its way down, and then it will go around and do the perimeter. You can see here that, you know, the perimeter is not cut. That's where you see some grass. Hopefully I told it to overlap as much as possible, so we'll see how much of that grass it gets up along the edge of that concrete landscape edging there. But you can see down here that it has the big white circle area. That is the auto mapping of picking up where the pine straw is around the tree, and it says I'm not going to cut there. But then it had the bare spot of the ground that I did have right where that one circle, blue circle is. That blue rectangle I put over it, and I said, hey, do map or do cut this area even though it thinks it's not grass. So that's the edits I had to do to that one, but now it's going to run and do its thing. You can see the full map is obviously much bigger, and you can see some of those red no-go zones. You can see up here the red dotted lines I have as a virtual fence. So I tried a couple different ways to do it, but it did a really good job of picking up all the places that were correct to cut or not correct to cut. So let's have it finish up here and see how it does. All right, as far as some settings that you can change in here, you can change the grass height from, I think, 1 inch to 3 inches. You can change the edge spacing. This is what I was talking about, the overlap of how much you want the mower wheel to run outside the grass. By default, it's set to 0, so then you're going to leave something like 5 or 6 inches of potentially uncut grass on the perimeter of your space. The path spacing is how much overlap it does on each pass. You can't change that while it's cutting. You have to stop mowing and then change it. Travel speed, it has like slow, standard, and fast. Blade speed, slow, standard, and fast as well. And then path direction, so you can change the angle at which it's going to go across and cut. I probably don't have the best one because I set it for the main part. So it's kind of going more of the narrow area. I could have made it go the long way. That would have been probably better from a cutting speed standpoint on this zone. And then on the overall app for the lawnmower, you have map management where you can adjust more zones. You can set up a schedule for it to mow at certain times or certain days of the week, so you don't have to, you know, hit play. You can tell it to cut. It does have a rain sensor on it, so if you pour water over the top of it, it has a little rain sensor. It will actually detect that rain. It'll stop the blade, and it'll go back to its charging base, and then it will start going again after the rain dries up. You can see your mowing history here, so I can see here what I ran. This is the one I ran in the morning. It tells me that it took 1 hour and 52 minutes of run time. That's when the battery died, and it went back after about 2,100 square feet of cutting. So that is how far it got on one battery this morning. So I would obviously need it to do several batteries. So it would take all day for sure for it to cut 0.3 acres. So that's something to keep in mind with how big of a yard you think this one can cut. Now, of course, you can change the network and Bluetooth. It also does have cellular, and it has anti-theft with location. So it can use cellular if it gets taken away from your home, and you can still track it down and find it. But something to know is that when it's mowing, it does want to have a Wi-Fi connection at all times. I have really good Wi-Fi in the yard, so I don't have a problem. But if your yard is somewhere far away or your router doesn't reach to the yard, that might be a problem with it. You do need Wi-Fi connection, either 5 gigahertz or 2.4 gigahertz for it to work properly. All right, here's some of the advanced settings. You can change the volume that the speaker has. You can change the language, the rain detection sensitivity, how quickly it reruns after the rain. You can detect smart no-go zone suggestions, dangerous area, steep slope and avoidance, and multi-station mapping. So something to point out there. I told you that if you move it, pick it up and move it, it won't work. But if you have a station in a new area, it can use multiple stations so that it can do different areas as well. So that's the one workaround for that loophole that it has to be able to drive to wherever it is going to cut, is if there's a new station there, that also works. Okay, then there's like a child lockout, there's anti-theft, there is a live camera that you can tie into, and you can actually watch the live camera feed on the unit. There is a remote control, so I can control it myself from this app. I can make it play a sound so I can try to find it perhaps. Obviously a firmware update. Then there's the unit and time format. Of note, it does come in metric units by default, so it's like meter squared, which most Americans are not used to, so I did switch it to feet. And then you can share the device and look some other analysis. So those are all the features that it can do. All right, now if I take something that is new and it's not in the mapped area and I put it in front of the unit, it will find it, detect it, not hit it, go around, and then if I move it, it will go back and actually go over that spot. All right, so it's almost taken 2 hours for it to do this area, so it's not quick, but that's what I expected with a lot of these auto mowers. They're slow, they take their time, but you don't have to watch it. I can be inside watching TV or whatever, and it's out here cutting. Now, it's done a pretty good job. It did have a couple areas on the edge where it could not get up on the concrete, and so it misses that one little bit of grass there. But in the places where I had the concrete even with the grass, I was able to get it to drive over onto the concrete a little bit, and then it cut that edge as it's kind of doing right now. You can see it'll actually work its way over there and cut the full edge of the grass off like I want it to. So it does do a good job. It needs to do maintenance on the yard, meaning it needs to always be running, you know, every couple days or something. You know, you don't want it to have super long grass, and it's because the blades that are on it are little razor blades, and so they don't have the lift that a regular lawnmower has. And now, you know, talking about lift and just safety standpoint here, if I go over here to it and I pick it up or something, it will turn off for me. So it is pretty light. You can also hit the stop button, but I can just pick it up.
Robot is lifted. Please place it back on the ground.
And there you can see the blades and the disc that's on there. And like I said, it has the safety measures there. When I put it back down, I can hit the play button and make it go back. I only have to open up the app to do that.
Task resumed.
There we go. So now it's going back and keep it on working there. All right, so this is a slope test. They say it can do 18 degrees of slope, and we'll just drive right up to them. Now I can turn around on the hill, go back down, I can turn, go back up. There we go, I can go all the way up to there. All right, so here is a culvert drainage ditch. Now it is wet, like soaking wet in there. I'm gonna drive through it. And then this is obviously a very steep hill. It says higher grade or steeper than they say it can do, but we'll see what happens if I drive it through.
Robot has been moved from its usual working area. Please take note.
It drives right through that water. I'm gonna turn up this hill here and see how it does. All right, so that's as steep as it can go, but I mean, that's probably close to 30 plus degrees. Yeah, that's about as steep as it goes, but that is quite a big angle. I cannot drive my regular mower on that. I have to cut that by hand anyways. All right, so I'm out here and I just cut a good chunk of this grass here, about a third of what you see, and it's wet ground that's smushy and soft, but I was happy with the mower's ability. It's big tires, probably 7-8 inch diameter, have really good little you know, nubs on them that dig in, and it doesn't slip at all. I think you can maybe see, you can see all the little lines going across here. It goes to about right here, I believe, is about the line at which it cut everything over to that side, and this side it did not cut yet. So the grass cut quality is good. You know, I was actually pretty happy with it. And again, on this one here, I have the ability, I can drive on the sidewalk and it will cut that all the way over to the sidewalk. So it has some really good ability to cut places like this that are nice and wide open. You have an easy edge that you can drive over, and it automatically detected all of the kind of complex terrain up by the trees there with the pine needles, and it avoids them automatically. So pretty cool. All right, so for this Eufy E18 mower, basically my recommendation is this is a good mower for a small yard. If you have under 0.3 acres, then it is able of doing that in a single day, but know that it will take several charges. It does it automatically, and I will have to say this is by far the coolest auto mapping feature that I've seen out of a mower, because it literally does do it by itself. I had to do just a little touch-ups here and there to make the no-go zones or do-cut zones manually where I wanted it, but it detected things like my wellhead, a hydrant in the yard, all the pine needles around the trees, the concrete landscaping around the yard. So that auto mapping is very cool, and the mower is very quiet, so it has a lot of things going for it. The downside is that it is slow. It has a hard time getting grass cut all the way to the perimeter unless you have the ability for the mower to drive outside the grass on an even level surface. And then you know, the battery only lasts about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours tops of area, so it's only getting about, you know, 1,200, 1,500 square feet, about what I've been seeing, maybe 2,000 square feet of grass cutting on one charge, and then it goes back, has to charge back up again. So all that said, it is a good mower for that needs. If you have a bigger yard or you want to mow at nighttime, then it's not the right mower for you. Now, if you're interested in the mower, click the link down below in the video description or the first comment. That gets you a discount code to go buy one yourself. And now, of course, if you like this video, give me the thumbs up on YouTube, as well as consider subscribing to my channel for more videos like it. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.